One accident turned a street hawker into the center of a billionaire's world. As her rise sparks envy, lies, and scandal, the truth begins to bleed. Was it pity or love? And what will it cost her to find out? The Price of Pity. Watch the full story now. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.
Lagos was alive that morning, bursting at the seams with its usual chaos. Danfo buses honked like wild geese. Street hawkers cried their wares with cracked voices, and the sun already hung heavily over the island. In the heart of it all, Zina Okoro balanced a plastic tray of bottled water on her head as she weaved between stationary cars along the marina. Her eyes were sharp, searching, always alert, her lips muttering silent calculations. 1 bottle sold meant 50 naira. 20 bottles? 1 full meal for her and Junior tonight. She wiped sweat from her brow with the back of her hand, adjusted her wrapper, and spotted her next opportunity. A black SUV stuck in traffic near the Echo Bridge on-ramp, tinted windows, engine purring. She didn't know whose it was, and frankly, didn't care. She strode toward it, hoping for a kind hand. Inside the SUV, Kenechukwu Ken Mbanefo, billionaire CEO of Zephyrtech Holdings, was scrolling through his emails. His driver, Ifeanyi, was muttering curses under his breath. The traffic hadn't moved in 10 minutes. Ken barely noticed the movement outside his window until a blur of color caught his eye. He looked up, just in time to see a young woman trip on a loose concrete slab near the curb and stumble into the road. "Sir!" Ifeanyi shouted. The SUV lurched, a sickening thud. Zina's body bounced off the hood and collapsed onto the asphalt. For a moment, the city fell silent in Ken's ears. Pedestrians screamed, hawkers gathered. Someone yelled, "She don't die, oh!" Another screamed, "Call ambulance!" Ken opened the door before Ifeanyi could stop him. "Move!" he barked. His Italian shoes hit the dusty street, his crisp shirt already damp with panic. He reached the girl. Blood streamed from her temple, her arm twisted unnaturally. But her eyes were open. She stared at him, not with fear, not with anger, but confusion and defiance. "I'm not dead," she croaked. Ken knelt beside her. "You need a hospital." "No, General," she said weakly. "Private, please. I no want die for government hand." That was the first thing that pierced through Ken's shock. Her insistence on surviving. The waiting room at Queensbridge Hospital, one of the most elite medical centers in Lagos, smelled of antiseptic and privilege. Ken paced back and forth, ignoring the stares from nurses and patients who recognized him. A doctor emerged. "She's stable? Dislocated shoulder, cracked ribs, some minor internal bleeding, but she'll make it." Ken exhaled, as if he'd been holding his breath since the accident. "Whatever she needs, give it to her." The doctor nodded. "It will be expensive." Mr. Mbanefo Ken didn't flinch. "Send the bills to Zephyrtech." He turned to leave, but hesitated. "She has no family?" The doctor paused. "None who've come forward." Ken nodded, jaw clenched, and left. But he didn't go far. Over the next 3 days he returned quietly. No press, no entourage. Each time he found Zina more alert. She refused pity, even thanked him with suspicion in her voice. "Why you dey come here?" she asked on the 4th visit. "I hit you with my car," Ken said flatly. "But na traffic," she replied. "I for no day that road if government do their job. Maybe na them you suppose visit." Ken smirked. She was right. But there was something about her that made walking away impossible. By the 5th visit, she finally asked, You no get work? I own the company, he replied. Her eyes widened. Ah, now wetin they make you behave like say you be a ghost, quiet billionaire? Ken chuckled, his first real laugh in months. A week later, she was discharged. He was there again. Zina stepped out and donated clothes, simple jeans and a blouse. Her wrapper and tray were gone. Her eyes darted toward the street instinctively. Ken opened the car door. I'd like to offer you a job. She blinked. Job? Yes, at Zephyrtech, admin desk, entry level. Her laugh was almost a cough. Olga, I beg. I no even finish secondary school. I know Sabi use all those big computer tins. I'll arrange training, he said simply. You're smart. I've seen how you talk. You see people. That's rare. Zina studied him. You they do this because of guilt, Abby? Ken looked her in the eye. At first, maybe, but not now. She was quiet. Then slowly, she entered the car. Zephyrtech Holdings was a towering glass building in Victoria Island, an alien planet compared to the roadside stalls and concrete chaos Zina came from. She wore a second-hand blazer over her plain shirt and sat stiffly behind the receptionist's desk, trying not to let her hand shake as she took down calls and sorted internal mails. It wasn't easy. The stares from staff, the whispered rumors. But she held her head high. Ken watched from afar, never coddling, never overstepping. He assigned Mrs. Amaka, a firm HR lead, to oversee Zina's orientation. She's rough around the edges, Amaka reported, but she's sharp, and she listens. 2 weeks in, Zina caught a conversation she wasn't meant to hear. She's the girl from the accident, right? I heard she used the blood to buy a future. Sleeping with Ken, they say. Pity promotion. Zina didn't confront them. She just walked away. That night, she cried in the staff bathroom. The next morning, she returned to her desk, earlier than usual. Meanwhile, Layla Hassan adjusted her diamond earrings as she watched the news. Her face stiffened as a segment played. In an inspiring turn of events, billionaire CEO Ken Mbenefo offers a job to a former street hawker he accidentally injured. Many are calling it a modern Cinderella story. She turned off the TV. The headline made her skin crawl. Not because of jealousy. Layla had grown up too privileged to envy poverty, but because of the narrative. Ken had never made public moves of compassion. He hated the spotlight. Yet now he was saving stray dogs from the street. She called him. Ken, we need to talk. At their next dinner at the Velvet Room, Layla wore red silk and a practiced smile. You're doing charity work now? She teased, sipping champagne. Ken gave her a measured look. It wasn't charity. It was an accident. I offered her a job. She's working for you? Her smile twitched. How quaint. Ken stirred his drink. She's doing well. Layla leaned forward. Ken, people are talking. They think you're obsessed with her, that she's your new toy. He bristled. That's ridiculous. Is it? She said softly. You've never brought any of your employees into your orbit like this? He said nothing. Layla took his silence as confirmation. Just be careful. People are watching. Back at Zephyrtech, Zina was making progress. She'd learned how to operate the company's internal systems, memorize staff names, and even offered smart suggestions during the morning briefings. She's picking up like a sponge, Amaka told Ken, but every step forward brought more scrutiny. One afternoon, Zina walked into the break room only for the conversation to fall silent. The microwave beeped. A woman snickered. A man said, "Careful, she might record us and sell the tape to the blogs." She walked out with her head held high, but inside she was cracking. Later that week, Ken visited her desk. "You have a minute?" She followed him into his office. It was the first time she'd seen the top floor. He gestured to the chair. She sat stiffly. "I hear there's been resistance," he said. She laughed bitterly. "Olga, they no like me. I no blame them. I'm not one of you people." He leaned forward. "You belong here if you want to be here. You're earning it." Her eyes flickered. "Sometimes it feels like no matter what I do, it'll never be enough." He looked at her carefully. "Zina, why did you take the job?" She hesitated. "Because I was tired of running, tired of hustling every day like I was fighting the world with bare hands. You gave me a door. I walked through it, that's all." Ken nodded. "Then don't let anyone push you out of it." For the first time, Zina allowed herself to believe she could stay. But trouble was brewing. A gossip blog posted a story. Street Girl Now CEO's Pet Project. Inside the rise of Zina Okoro. With side-by-side pictures, one of her selling water in rags, the other in a blazer behind a corporate desk. Ken stared at the post. Layla's voice rang in his head. "People are watching." He picked up the phone. "Find out who leaked this?" And for the first time, he felt something beyond guilt or curiosity. He felt protective, maybe even something deeper. But was it really love, or just the price of pity? 3 months after the accident, Zina Okoro was no longer the girl with dusty slippers and a water tray on her head. Now she moved through the glass corridors of Zephyr Tech Holdings in block heels and neatly tailored pencil skirts. Her posture taller and her voice more confident, though still tinged with the careful caution of someone who knew how quickly the world could shift under her feet. It hadn't been easy. Zina studied like her life depended on it, because it did. Every evening, after long days at the office, she'd return to the one-room apartment Ken had helped her secure and pore over business reports, YouTube tutorials, and employee training manuals. What she lacked in formal education, she made up for in grit. And slowly, her sharp mind began to shine through. Her big break came during a tense investor meeting. Ken's executive team was struggling to understand why a major fintech partner was pulling out of a project aimed at micro-lending in rural communities. As executives tossed around jargon and spreadsheets, Zina, sitting quietly at the back to take notes, raised her hand. "If I fit talk small?" she asked, her voice tentative. They paused. Ken gave her a nod.
The whole program be like say una de build from top. But people for village no get time for app where go to collect data like police. Waiting them want not trust, local trust. If you no go to people them know like market leaders or church woman, them no go touch your money. A hush fell. Ken leaned forward. Later that week, he invited her to sit in on strategy meetings, not just to observe, but to contribute. As her influence grew, so did the whispers. She's his pet project. From street to boardroom. Who's she sleeping with? They say he bought her a flat, next na wedding ring. The blogs ran wild. Photos of her entering Ken's car, sitting beside him at meetings, even a clip of them laughing over coffee, each one twisted into salacious headlines. From accident to affair? Zina the Cinderella, or just another social climber. She became a trending topic on Twitter. Her past, once hidden in the gutters of Lagos, was now public property. The more Zina achieved, the more they tried to drag her down. Layla Hassan noticed. At first, she dismissed Zina as a charity case, but as days turned into weeks and Ken's interest in the girl didn't fade, Layla's polished mask began to crack.
She'd known Ken for 5 years, dated him for 2, engaged for 8 months, but lately he'd grown distant. Not colder, just distracted, as though something or someone was beginning to matter more than her. One afternoon, she walked into Ken's office unannounced. Zina was already there, holding a folder and discussing strategy. Layla smiled. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Zina stiffened, but Ken didn't flinch. "What do you need, Layla?" "Just wanted to bring you lunch," she said, placing a brown paper bag on his desk. Her eyes flicked to Zina. "We haven't met properly. You're Zina, right? The intern?" Zina forced a polite nod. "Administrative associate." Layla laughed, low and sweet. "Of course." She left, but the moment stayed. The sabotage began subtly. First, a spreadsheet Zina was working on was mysteriously deleted before a presentation. Then a confidential email she never sent was found under her account. HR launched an investigation. Zina defended herself, but the damage was done. Her name again was in people's mouths. Later, Ken called her into his office. "I'm sorry about what's happening," he said. "IT traced the email to a proxy IP. Someone's framing you." "Then say it publicly," Zina replied, eyes burning. "Clear my name." Ken hesitated. "The moment I make this a public issue, you become a bigger target. I'm trying to protect you."
Zina scoffed. "Maybe you like me better when I'm silent and grateful." He stood. "That's not fair." She met his gaze. "Neither is this place." Meanwhile, Lila wasn't done. She cornered Zina in the elevator one rainy afternoon. "You think you're clever?" she said, her voice cold. "I know what you're doing." Zina stared straight ahead. "I'm doing my job." "No. You're crawling into his life like a parasite. First the hospital, then his company, his time, his attention. What next?" Zina turned to face her. "I didn't ask for any of this. Your fiancé hit me with his car. If you're angry, take it up with his conscience." The doors opened. Zina walked out without looking back. The pressure reached its peak during the annual Zephyr Tech Charity Gala. Held at a glittering hotel in Ikoyi, it was a showcase of wealth and influence. The city's elite gathered in designer gowns and tuxedos, glasses of champagne in hand. Zina, wearing a rented silver gown from a local boutique and modest heels, stood awkwardly at the edge of the ballroom. She hadn't wanted to come, but Ken had insisted she be there. "You earned your place," he'd said. Lila, of course, was glowing in a custom gold gown. She noticed Zina the moment she entered. The night went smoothly until a piercing scream rang out. "Where's my necklace? My grandmother's diamond necklace is gone!" cried Senator Beese's wife. Security swarmed. Guests murmured. Then, a hotel staff whispered something to the head guard. He turned toward Zina. "We'd like to search your purse." Zina blinked, stunned. "What?" "It's procedure, Ma." Ken was across the room but rushed over as a small crowd formed. Zina handed over her clutch, jaw tight. They opened it and pulled out the missing necklace. Gasps. She turned to Ken. "I didn't put that there." "I know," he said firmly. The hotel manager frowned. "Sir, check the cameras," Ken ordered. "Now!" Minutes ticked by. Zina stood still, heart thudding, as whispers spread again. Her cheeks burned. The footage revealed it all. A woman in a gold dress had slipped the necklace into Zina's unattended bag near the ladies' room. Lila.
The entire room watched the screen in stunned silence. Ken didn't confront her. Not there. He simply turned back to Zina. "I'm sorry," he said, but Zina's eyes brimmed with tears. "I shouldn't have come." She fled. The next morning, her desk was empty.
Ken called her. No answer. He texted. Nothing. He finally showed up at her apartment. She opened the door, face bare, eyes tired. "I quit," she said. "Zina, I can't do this anymore. The looks, the lies, the constant feeling like I don't belong." He was quiet. She added, "I can go back to the street and still sleep with peace. Here, even with a chair and a title, I still feel like I'm in a cage." "I didn't bring you into a cage," he said. "I brought you into the light." "Then why does it burn?" she whispered. He stepped closer. "Because you're shining too." She shook her head. "Don't give me pretty words. Tell me the truth. Am I here because I'm good, or because you feel sorry for me?" "You're here because you earned it." Her eyes narrowed. "Then why do you always look at me like I'm a problem you want to fix?" That silenced him. She stepped back. "I need time," she said. Then she closed the door. Back at Zephyrtech, the scandal brewed. The board was furious. Layla's actions, once just petty, had gone public. A media outlet leaked the security footage. Hashtags trended, "Tar justice for Zina, tar power," and Ken issued a quiet statement through the company. "We stand by merit, not scandal." But he felt her absence like a missing limb. In her place, no assistant could quite match her instinct. No advisor spoke with her clarity. He found himself scanning every room, hoping she'd return. A week later, a manila envelope arrived on Zina's doorstep. Inside was a letter. "Zina, I don't want to fix you. I admire you. I miss working beside you, not because you owe me anything, but because your voice made everything sharper. You're not here because of pity. You're here because you see things others don't. The world will always try to shrink people like you. I hope you never let it." Ken, she held the letter to her chest for a long time. Then she looked out the window and whispered, "Not done yet." The sky over Lagos darkened earlier than usual. Clouds hung low, heavy with the weight of the storm to come, outside and within. Zina Okoro had returned to herself in the weeks after the gala humiliation, not to the girl selling water on the roadside, but to a woman now shaped by survival and ambition, pain and pride. She hadn't spoken to Ken since his letter. She hadn't needed to. His words had wrapped around her like a shawl on cold nights. Comforting, but not enough to keep her from building something of her own. She'd begun working with a group of young women from Mushin, ex-hawkers, dropouts, single mothers. She taught them how to budget, how to speak in rooms that tried to silence them, how to believe that dignity wasn't a gift. It was a right. In secret, she'd used her savings to register her Voice Rising, a small foundation focused on street-to-career mentorship for disadvantaged women. She had no office yet, just a whiteboard, a second-hand laptop, and fierce determination. But on the other side of town, someone else wasn't letting go either. Layla Hassan was spiraling. Her engagement was in limbo. Ken hadn't answered her calls in days, and worse, her father had begun asking questions about the viral security footage that had humiliated the Hassan name. "Fix this," he had said, "or I'll fix it for you." Layla didn't cry. She calculated. Then she struck. A week later, a scandal broke across every major gossip blog in Nigeria. Exclusive. The real story of Zina Okoro hospital photos reveal affair began long before she got the job. She was never a victim. She played him. anonymous insider. The accompanying photos showed Zina unconscious on a hospital bed, her bandaged arm, her bruised temple. Another image, more intimate, showed Ken sitting at her bedside, holding her hand, tenderly. The narrative was crafted with surgical cruelty. That night, Zina's phone exploded. Messages poured in, support, hatred, threats, pity. And then came the second wave, photos from her childhood in Makoko, images of her scavenging in dump sites as a child, leading her baby brother by the hand. A grainy video of her once shouting in the market, defending her tray of goods from a thief. Someone had dug up her whole life. The morning after the leak, Ken appeared at her apartment unannounced. Zina opened the door, silent. No words, just raw, exhausted eyes. He handed her a USB stick. I had my team trace the leak. It came from Layla. I already knew, she said flatly. I'm sorry. Are you? He sighed. Zina, don't say my name like that, she snapped, like you know me better than I do. Ken stepped inside. I wanted to protect you. That's the problem, she said, her voice trembling. You always want to protect me. I didn't ask for that. He looked at her then, not like a CEO, not like a man trying to fix a mistake, but as a man who'd made too many. You want the truth? She said, stepping closer. Tell me, was this ever about me, or about you needing someone to save?
His eyes didn't leave hers. At first, yes. I felt responsible. I felt guilty. I saw someone hurt because of me, and I wanted to make it right. She nodded, biting her lip, blinking back tears. So, I was your redemption arc? No, he said softly. You were my wake-up call. He took a breath. It stopped being about guilt the day you made that presentation with the board. The way you stood there, untrained, uninvited, and absolutely fearless, I saw something I hadn't seen in anyone in years. She looked away. I stayed close, he continued, not to save you, but because I was learning from you. Your strength, your clarity, your refusal to be small. Somewhere in the middle of all that, I fell in love with you. The words hung in the air like thunder, but Zina only shook her head. I can't love you back if I don't even know who I am in your world. You're everything in mine, he said. She stepped back. But to them? I'm still a headline, still a scandal, still a street girl, lucky enough to get hit by a billionaire. Ken opened his mouth, closed it. There was nothing to say. I need to build something where no one can take it from me, she said. Where I don't have to question if I earned it. Then build it, he said, and I'll stand wherever you want me to, behind, beside, outside. But she walked to the door and opened it. I believe you love me, she said, but I won't be anyone's pity project, not even yours. She didn't slam the door, but she closed it. 3 months later, a modest event space in Surulere buzzed with quiet energy. Balloons and banners lined the walls. The backdrop read, Her voice rising, first annual fundraising brunch. Zina stood at the front in a simple navy blue gown, her hair in a tight bun. Her voice, when she spoke, carried years of silence, finally broken. I was told once that I didn't belong in a room like this, she said, that dignity came with designer labels and polished accents. But I've learned that dignity is a decision. And today I choose it, for myself and for every girl who's ever been overlooked. Applause thundered. She stepped down from the podium. Her team, 5 young women she had mentored, gathered around her in celebration. Then she saw him. Ken, standing quietly at the back, no entourage, no spotlight, just him in a plain shirt and slacks, holding a brown envelope. Their eyes met. For a moment, the room disappeared. She walked up to him slowly. "You came." "I said I would," he replied, voice low. He handed her the envelope. First donation, no strings attached. She opened it. A bank check. 10 million naira. She raised an eyebrow. He smiled. "For your voice, rising." She laughed, just a little. Then she gestured to an empty chair beside her table. "You can support me," she said gently, "but don't try to save me." Ken nodded, pulling the chair out himself. As he sat, Zina turned back to a team. They were laughing, pointing, taking selfies. Her eyes gleamed, not because she had arrived, but because she had started. Behind her, Ken didn't speak. He simply watched her with quiet pride, not as a savior, not as a lover trying to win her back, but as a man who finally understood the strength of a woman who refused to be saved. And in that silence, a smile passed between them. No promises, just possibility. Hope lingered.